Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you felt completely powerless, trapped in something you never saw coming? I never imagined I'd be in that position, especially not with my own husband. It started like any other night. A few friends over, drinks in hand, laughter in the air. But as the night went on, something began to shift, and I realized that everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, was about to change. What happened next is something I still can't fully comprehend, and I'm not sure I'll ever be able to. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will make you question everything. Make sure to subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. You won't want to miss what happens next. It all started when I met him. I was still in college, just beginning to figure out who I was, when I crossed paths with him, my husband. He was a friend of a friend, and from the moment we spoke, I felt something I couldn't explain. He was confident, easy to talk to, and made me feel like I was the only person in the room. I was drawn to him in a way I hadn't experienced before. We quickly became inseparable. We started dating, and it didn't take long for me to realize that I had found someone special. He was everything I had ever wanted in a partner, loving, supportive, and ambitious. We built our life together, step by step. He was an architect, passionate about his work, always designing and creating. I admired his drive and the way he could bring his visions to life. As for me, I'm a marketing consultant. I spend my days helping brands find their voice and connect with people. Our careers were demanding, but we made it work. We made time for each other, and I thought we had everything figured out. Years went by, and we got married. Our relationship felt solid, unshakable even. We laughed together, supported each other, and shared everything. I trusted him completely, and I thought he trusted me the same way. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but nothing that ever made me doubt our bond. We had a routine, a rhythm that felt right. We didn't have a huge circle of friends, but the ones we did have were close. We spent time with Tom and Sarah, who were like family, and a few others we'd met over the years, Mike, Jason, and Alex. Our weekends were filled with casual dinners, trips, and gatherings at our place. It was always a laid-back vibe, and I loved having them around. They were our core group, and I felt comfortable with all of them. But that night, things started to feel different. The evening began like any other, friends over, drinks, laughter filling the air. But as the night wore on, I noticed something strange in the way my husband was looking at me. It wasn't obvious at first, just a look that lingered too long, a smile that didn't quite seem right. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I told myself I was just being paranoid, but deep down, I knew something was about to change. I just didn't know how much. As the evening went on, the drinks kept coming, and I felt the familiar warmth of alcohol slowly working its magic. I wasn't drunk, but I was tipsy enough to feel loose, carefree. I thought it was just the atmosphere, the music, the laughter, the easy camaraderie of friends. But something felt off. It wasn't the noise or the chatter, it was something in the air. It was the way my husband's friends were looking at me. At first, I tried to brush it off. Maybe it was just me being paranoid, but the feeling grew stronger with every passing minute. Tom, Mike, Jason, and Alex, they were all familiar faces. Friends of my husband's, but people I had come to think of as my friends too. We had spent so many nights together, shared countless meals, and laughed about silly things. But tonight, they were acting different. There was a shift in their energy, something subtle, but unmistakable. Their glances lingered a little too long. Their jokes, once light-hearted, now carried a weight I couldn't ignore. Every time I caught one of them looking at me, I felt a jolt of unease. But I told myself it was nothing. After all, we were just friends, right? My husband, though, was acting strange too. He was quieter than usual, sitting back and watching the group with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He wasn't the man I knew, he was distant, almost like he was enjoying the show. I thought it was odd, but I brushed it off. Maybe he was just tired, or maybe he was just happy to be surrounded by friends. But there was something in the way he watched me, something I couldn't quite place. His gaze never left me, and every time our eyes met, I saw that same smile, a smile that felt more like a warning than a reassurance. As the night went on, I found myself getting more and more uncomfortable. The drinks kept flowing, and I felt my body loosen, but the tension in the room was thick. I could feel it now, everyone was paying attention to me, and not in the way they usually did. It was like I was the center of a game I didn't understand. I tried to laugh it off, but my heart was racing. Why did it feel like I was being set up? Why did I feel so exposed, like I was being examined, dissected in a way that wasn't right? And then, just like that, it hit me. The realization came crashing down on me, and I froze. This wasn't just a casual night with friends. This wasn't just a dinner party or a few drinks. My husband had planned this. He had arranged for his friends to be here tonight, and he had arranged for them to cross a line with me. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I couldn't. I was too far gone, too tipsy to think clearly. The truth was, I was already in the middle of something I couldn't stop. As the night wore on, the laughter and chatter grew louder, but I felt like I was drowning in the noise. The alcohol had loosened me up, but something was wrong. I could feel their eyes on me, watching me, sizing me up. It was no longer a friendly gathering. The playful glances, the way they moved closer, it wasn't innocent anymore. It felt like they were circling, and I was the prey. My body felt heavy, and my mind was spinning, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. My husband, who had always been the one to protect me, just stood there, watching. His smile was different, almost too calm, too knowing. I felt a cold chill run down my spine as the realization hit me. This wasn't just a party. This wasn't a mistake. This was planned. And I had walked right into it. Tom was the first to step forward. He was always the bold one, the one who would joke around a little too much. But this time, his hand on my arm wasn't playful. It was firm, possessive. I froze, unsure of what to do. I looked to my husband for help, for a sign that this wasn't happening, but he didn't move. He just watched, his eyes never leaving mine. The smile on his face told me everything I needed to know. This was part of the plan. I tried to pull away, but it was too late. Tom's grip tightened, and before I knew it, he was pulling me closer. I couldn't think, couldn't react. My body felt numb, like it wasn't mine anymore. Then, just as quickly as Tom had taken control, Mike stepped forward. He wasn't asking for permission, he just moved in, like he was entitled to me. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but the words wouldn't come. I was trapped, surrounded, and all I could do was watch as Mike took his turn. One after the other, they came. Jason, Alex, they all took their turns, and with each one, I felt more powerless, more humiliated. Through it all, my husband stood there, watching. His smile never faltered. It was like he was enjoying this twisted game. How could he do this to me? How could he just let them? But worse than that, how could I have been so blind? The man I had trusted, the man I had loved, had orchestrated this. He had planned it all along, and I was just the pawn in his sick game. The emotional weight of it all hit me like a wave. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I wanted to run, to escape, but I couldn't. My body betrayed me. I was frozen in place, trapped in this nightmare, unable to escape. And through it all, my husband just stood there, smiling as if this was all part of some twisted fantasy he had created. I couldn't process it. I couldn't understand how the man I had trusted with everything could betray me like this. The night dragged on, but by the time it was over, I felt like I had been in a different world. The laughter, the music, the chatter, it all seemed so distant, like I was watching it from behind a glass wall. My body was physically there, but my mind was somewhere else. I couldn't shake the images of what had happened, of the way my husband had stood by, watching it all unfold. The betrayal was so deep, so personal, that I couldn't even look at him without feeling disgusted. When the last of his friends finally left, I was numb. I couldn't speak. I couldn't cry. I just sat there, in the same spot where it had all happened, unable to move. My husband tried to comfort me, to hold me, but I couldn't let him touch me. The man I had loved, the man I had trusted with everything, had just shattered my world. And worse, he didn't even seem sorry. There was no apology, no regret in his eyes. Just that same cold smile, like he had done nothing wrong. Like I was the one who had somehow failed him. I don't know how long I sat there, in that silence, but when I finally stood up, I felt different. The woman who had walked into that night was gone. The trust one had in him, in our marriage, was gone. It was like I was living in a different reality. How could I ever look at him the same way again? How could I ever believe in the love we shared after everything that had happened? I kept asking myself, how do you move forward after something like this? How do you rebuild a relationship when the foundation has been completely destroyed? I thought I knew my husband. I thought we were happy. But now, I was left with nothing but the wreckage of a marriage I no longer recognized. The person I thought I knew was gone. And I didn't know if I could ever forgive him for what he did. As I sat there, the weight of the decision hit me. Do I stay and try to make it work? Do I try to rebuild, even though I feel like everything between us is broken beyond repair? Or do I walk away, leave everything I thought I knew, and start over? I don't have the answers yet. I don't know what comes next. But I do know one thing, I can't go back to the way things were. The trust is gone, and I'm not sure if it can ever be rebuilt. After a few days, I tried to convince myself that I could just move on. Maybe I could act like nothing had happened, pretend that everything was normal. But no matter how hard I tried to push the memories away, they lingered. Every time I looked at my husband, I was reminded of what he had allowed to happen, how he had stood by and watched as his friends crossed a line. It wasn't just a betrayal of trust, it felt like my entire sense of reality had been shattered. I thought I could bury the pain, hide it deep inside and carry on with life. But the truth was, I couldn't escape it. I felt like I was drowning. I couldn't even look at myself without feeling disgusted. The weight of everything, my husband's indifference, his betrayal, was crushing.